Welcome to the Travis Perry Show. Today we have an esteemed guest, Mark Abramovich, and a great friend of mine. Mark is an amazing guy. He's a husband, father, lender, author, speaker with 7 patents to his name. Mark spent 20 years designing new digital dental equipment before switching to real estate full time. Currently, Mark enjoys life in South Florida, which he raves about all the time, and I love it. He travels with his family quite often and practices karate with his sons while managing Always Capital and 2 debt funds. So we're grateful to have Mark here with us on the show. Mark, thanks for being here, buddy.
Oh, Dr. Perry, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on, and this is great. Thank you.
Absolutely. So fun. Mark and I have done some work together. We've actually, speaking of traveling, we've traveled together, haven't we? And we've
Yes.
enjoyed that a lot. So that's been a lot of fun in Costa Rica. We just wanted to jump on here and talk a little bit about what Mark does, how he helps people financially to really, create lasting wealth. So, Mark, I'm
hmm
going to let you talk about it. You started it in the dental field and you switched over to real estate. Why don't you fill in some of the gaps there in just a couple minutes?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about what you did.
Okay. Well, we actually were investing the entire time I was working, I actually was investing in real estate along the way. And it was really funny to realize last year that I've been doing real estate for 20 years. Not to say that I knew what I was doing in the beginning, but that it was 20 years. So real estate was always in parallel. Now, when people ask me about switching from engineering and design to lending, they think that it's a big shift. In the end run, it's spreadsheets and numbers. So whether it was a product I was designing and I had to look at it that way, to whether it's lending now, it's the same thing. It's creating a solution to a problem, right?
Yeah.
An investor wants to purchase real estate, they want to either do a flip or buy a rental, and they need financing for that deal. That's what the lending side does. The how do I
Yeah.
help people is we provide education. It's not just a matter of, here's a loan and do what you will with it. No, it's to make sure that it's a successful project for everybody involved. That a quote that I have is the best way for me to protect my money is to make sure that my borrowers make a profit. And so the first and foremost thing is my client needs to make a profit in order for me to have my money secure and safe. And so we do the best we can to teach, whether it's beginners or whether it's more advanced people. I always uh, One of the greatest compliments I got from a friend of mine who's been investing for 40 plus years. And he sat through one of the classes that I was teaching on investing and how to go from essentially beginner to, getting a deal done. And he told me afterwards, he goes, I actually took notes, and there were a couple of things that I took note of that you talked about. And to me, that was the most amazing thing that somebody with that much experience could still take away something from what I said.
That's wonderful. Yeah, education is super important. I see it's vital to what you're doing to help people. Talk to us a little bit about
hmm
who it is you actually serve. Who's your ideal client? Who's somebody that really is on fire with the ideas that you teach?
So the people that we serve, and my ideal client is someone who wants to be a real estate investor. They're either a beginner and doesn't know anything, and so they need a place to start, and they truly don't know. And so we're happy to provide that core education, the pieces that you need to truly get this done, right? And do it safely and profitably. From there, it's the investor who, for example, has done some deals, but they've been using their cash. They don't really understand how leverage can help them to grow. Uh, you know, I can, one way to determine my ideal client is, I guess, to go into who's not my ideal client. I have a friend who's been doing real estate also 40 plus years, older gentleman, and we once had a conversation. And his model is to buy a single property per year, a heavy renovation where it's going to be a six-figure profit. He actually swings the hammer himself. He works together with his guys, and then he lists it and sells it because he's also a realtor. And it was really funny that when he and I were discussing this, and he goes, "Well, you know, why would I need you? I said, if you want to do more than one project at the same time. He said, but I don't want to do more than one project at the same time. And I said, then you're not my ideal client. He's like, but I'm happy with, just doing one project and paying for it cash because I have the money. I said, again, you're not my ideal client. I'm happy to go have lunch with you, hang out with you, talk kids and grandkids with you. But I said, for the deal, you're not my ideal client because you're not trying to grow that way. But who I could help is an investor who is looking to use the same cash they already have available to buy more than one rental, or an investor who doesn't have enough in their own pocket to do a bigger flip, a bigger renovation project. So we're there to help people either scale up the size of project they're doing or the number of projects they're doing. And all along, we're the second set of eyes to make sure that all of it remains profitable.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Talk to us a little bit about your framework. How do you actually do this? Because, man, I've spoken with a lot of investors, a lot of real estate investors to boot, and everybody has a little bit different way of doing it. But without giving away the farm, why don't you tell us your framework? Give us your most important concepts. How does one go from no experience at all to getting one of these projects done?
So the framework is simple. The first and foremost thing, the the vital core that will never change, and I can pretty confidently say it will never change, is that you have to do the underwriting on the deal. So I separate analysis and underwriting. Even though they're synonymous, I separate them out. Analysis is the story, while underwriting is the math. And so the first, most vital, most critical piece that any investor has to do is they have to do the analysis and underwriting of a project. That's core. I don't care if you're a beginner or if you're experienced. That is the most important piece. Okay. Now, the way I help do that is I actually built over the years, little by little, we've built what we call an underwriter spreadsheet. And it's easily available www.allwayscapitalllc.com/underwriter. All is spelled with two L's, ALL. And anybody can download it, right? It's available for free. And it's literally the same spreadsheet that I've been using for years to underwrite and analyze the deals that I myself invest in. So, if it's complex and kludgy, forgive me. In the next few months, we'll be working, using AI to streamline it, make it more economic. But the core math is there, and it was built for me to use for my deals. So the first and foremost thing I do is I teach that. Now, whether somebody wants to take a class from me or go online and download it and listen to the videos where I talk about how to fill it out, that part, that's the core. From there already comes the specific finding of a deal and overlaying what kind of financing is available for that particular investor. Because location, experience, credit score, available liquidity will change what we can do for the project and how the specifics work out. But the first and foremost thing is to run it through through the spreadsheet and make sure that it's actually a good deal. That's the core. Everything else is already, kind of folds out from it.
Yeah. So let's say I went to that website. What is it
Mhm.
again, Mark?
So it's all ways capital llc.com/underwriter.
Okay. Let's say I went
Hmm.
there
Yep.
and I was filling this out. And I know you do a lot of education
Hmm.
around the next steps, but what are the next couple of steps if they had that filled out, if they knew what they were doing there? What would be the next thing after the underwriting, the analysis? What comes next in finding this and executing on a good deal?
The next thing is they actually find a good deal. They fill out our deal form. So same thing on alwayscapital.com. There's a button there that says borrow, and so they can click on that button. And what the deal form that pops up is how we provide a quote. So I brought my engineering past with me to lending, and in engineering, once you were done designing a product, the next thing was to actually get the pieces made. And so we would actually go to manufacturing companies and say, okay, can I have a quote? How much is it going to cost me to build one prototype or 10 prototypes? And then how much is it going to be to roll out, and produce thousands of these pieces? And so we would start with a quote so that we would know financially what to expect. So I brought that over to lending. And in lending, it's the same exact thing. Tell me what your deal is, tell me the parameters, and we will provide you a quote so that we start on the same page. You know what to expect from me in term regarding how much money you're going to get, how much is that money going to cost you, and when, so that deal form gets filled out, and it also gives me enough information to plug that same deal into the exact same spreadsheet. I use the exact same one to verify that the numbers are correct. So while we're generating the quote for how much the loan will cost, we're also overlaying the financing to make sure that the deal is still viable. If the deal is not viable, we'll respond with an email that says, well, what did your analysis show you, right? Do you have a spreadsheet? Did you download ours? Did you check it any way, shape, or form to make sure that it's a good deal? Then, on the other hand, if the numbers are good and the profit is there and everything is correct, then we actually provide a quote and say, hey, here's what we can do for the financing on this deal for you. Let's proceed. Now, once the person signs the letter of interest and says, okay, I want to proceed, they send it back. They send it back, and we start rolling on the loan. So simultaneously, we're working on the loan while the investor is working on doing inspections of the property, right? They have it under contract. And then if it's a renovation project, we close on the loan, they start doing the work, request draws, we reimburse for the work completed, and then until they're done with the project, then they sell it. If it's a rental property, then same thing. They're working on the inspections. We order appraisal, title, get all the documents collected. And then at the same time, simultaneously, the purchase and the loan come together. They purchase the property, hand it off to management for someone or self manage it. And now they own a rental property with a constant drip of income. So, yeah.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. So what I'm getting from you is you've got this engineering background that you've
Hmm.
brought to this field of real estate, which quite honestly, I know for a fact there are many who are in real estate without this engineering background, who I can't imagine that they don't have good deals here and there, but to have this level of analyses and quite honestly feedback on what the deal is and what it looks like, this sounds like an absolute game changer. For most people I've interviewed, this is it. Like, I've never seen anything like this before. What would you say might be a couple of, I don't know, drawbacks, a couple of things that if people, are new to this, they don't know necessarily how to do the underwriting, or what might
Hmm.
be a couple of things that keep them from, going through and actually doing their first deal?
Well, first of all, there's definitely analysis paralysis. The fact that people will start analyzing deals instead of actually making an offer. And by the way, if an investor comes up with a number that they feel embarrassed to submit, good, submit it. If you're not embarrassed, you didn't offer low enough. And I don't mean this as a you've got to rip anybody off. It's just that we don't get, as investors, we don't get the use prop of the property, right? I don't get to live in it. So as an investor, if I was to buy a flip, I'm buying it strictly to renovate and sell it as a product. It's the same thing as a car mechanic is changing the brake pads on my car. He doesn't get to drive it. He needs to get paid for the work that he performed. So with investors, it's the same thing. And with beginners, they're terrified of, where am I going to get the money? What if the deal is bad? What if I lose money? Well, the only way to overcome that, first of all, you have to take action. There's no getting around it. But the benefit is that there are people like us available to help and guide, that we can answer questions and help with it, essentially, that there's tools available and spreadsheets available. And, a lender's not interested in losing their money. So I can pretty much guarantee you that I will do everything in my power to make sure that it's a successful project, to look at it, review it, guide as much as I can so that my money actually comes back safely and with friends. Now, I will say this, and I hope your audience takes this to heart because I've had this conversation with countless people by now. You might not have an engineering background, but just because you're a novice investor does not mean you do not have life experience. It was the most amusing thing to me when we at my job there was a coworker I worked with, and we were going out to lunch one day, and he made a comment to me. He goes, sometimes they treat us like children here. They don't let us problem solve. They just tell us what to do and expect us to just be the hands that do it. He goes, they forget that at home I am the project manager, the scheduler, the bookkeeper, the accountant, the CEO. He goes, I have to keep a roof over the head, everything. So at home, I'm everything, every task is mine. And at work, they forget that. So I want to remind everybody that even though you're coming into real estate, perhaps without an engineering background, well, project management, building teams, whatever past career you have, lean into it. Being a parent and having to organize your children, keeping a clean and neat household, keeping them fed, keeping them clothed, taking them to their activities, scheduling all of it, balancing your checkbook in the household, those are all skills that completely and align and port over into real estate investing. So I just want to remind everyone that just because you may be the first time investor does not make you inexperienced.
Right.
Just lean into it. Yeah.
That's so good. There's definitely, those who would look at a spreadsheet and have analysis paralysis. 100%. Absolutely. And there are also those who might underestimate their own skills and abilities. But as you've illustrated, I mean, you were in a completely different industry. You were investing, on the side, but to
Hmm.
do that full time and now help other people understand that process is quite amazing. I mean, you're living proof of doing that yourself. So I love that. That's fantastic. If you were to say this is the one thing that a new investor or even a seasoned investor who's not necessarily doing this full time and they haven't reached their potential yet,
Hmm.
what would be the first thing that you would have them do now? What was the very first step to getting started?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would do is have them join our Capital Investing Done Safely group so that they're surrounded by other investors and they're they have the ability to interact with us, ask questions, get motivation, and basically know that they've got guidance from people who have done hundreds of deals. Um, between my partners and I, it's collectively we have, I don't know, 50, 60 years of real estate experience and thousands of deals done. So that's the first thing I would suggest. But outside of that, just learn and outgrind. I mean, there's definitely resources available. I mean, and to this day, I still stay up at night. My family goes to sleep, and at this point, it's a habit to go online and still learn, to find either articles to read about real estate or to watch YouTube videos of other speakers or to work on our own content, which sparks my own ideas. It's education, education, and education. Go to live events. Just do the thing. There's no there's no getting around doing it. The only thing that's there is that you can out hustle someone else. It doesn't matter where we all are, what our position is, what cards we got dealt, you can still outwork everyone else. That's one of the things that always like that's the big piece I always take out of Michael Jordan's story, right? He had
Yeah.
innate talent. There's no doubt about it. But it's the question of nature and nurture. And in the end run, someone who nurtures, who basically keeps practicing, they will they will outperform someone who just relies on their inner talent and never trains it, never grows it. So the first thing I would say Yeah, join our Capital Investing Done Safely group. So same thing, always capitalllc.com/CIDS, Capital Investing Done Safely. But from there, download our underwriter. Go visit, find me on Google and watch my blogs and blog posts and the videos that I've done, right? Find other speakers and just start absorbing information about how real estate investing works. It's all available. In the end run, can you teach yourself? Yes, you can. The reason why it helps to have a mentor, to have somebody who can guide you, is because they'll package it into a more concise, actionable plan, right?
Mm.
You mentioned that we spent a week in Costa Rica, which was amazing. And, the next trip we're doing, we're in. But what did we do in Costa Rica, right? You and I had a chance to speak before. I looked up what you do, but it's the cohesive step by step that was so different, right? Every single night it was okay. Today we're studying this piece. Here's your action items. Go have this conversation. Okay, next step. Okay, what did you guys learn from yesterday's activity? Fantastic. Now we go to the next step, the next step, the next step. And so every time you and I check in, you're asking me, Mark, what did you do now? What have you done from what we discussed last time? And so every time now I have this nudge of what's the next step.
Yeah.
So even though can I go online and find how to have balanced growth and how to, interact with my spouse? I probably could. But is it different to have Dr. Perry, personally talk to me and listen to my scenario and have give me guidance? Absolutely. That's the thing. Can you go online and find all of the YouTube videos with all the different real estate speakers talking about it? Absolutely. Does it shift your life when you have an organization or organized content and an environment of other people together with you collectively where you know that you're not alone. There are people who can be sounding boards and give you advice and even commiserate with you. I mean, I'm not a fan of commiserating. I don't want to waste my time, right? On blame
Right.
games and everything else. But sometimes you need somebody to hear you out and when things are not going right and hopefully give advice on what to do.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, find mentors and coaches and I I never thought of it until I matured to it. And now I understand the value basically of being surrounded by people who are smarter than me, who can help me and guide me. And so that's what I would suggest to everybody on this call.
No, I love that. And thank you for the shout out. Thank you for being such a great guest
No,
today. I can personally vouch that Mark is an exceptional learner. He came in with a just open mind and taking notes and really learning and absorbing. So, somebody that walks the walk, it's Mark. So you're listening to him say education, 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 and he does it. So
yep,
wonderful. What a great place to end here, Mark. I know you are an author. You have written a book
yes, I
about
have.
investing, and not only you have these educational resources at alwayscapitalllc.com, but you also have a book that's out. Why don't you
Yes,
tell us where they can find that
sure,
book and what it's all about?
absolutely. The book is called Lending Wise, WHYS, the whys that I kept being
Mhm.
asked uh, by myself. It's available on Amazon.com, like most books, I guess. So on Amazon.com, Lending Wise by Mark Abramovich. And essentially, it is the core basis, same thing. It's not a long book, and it's not a long because I didn't have much to say. It's not long because I didn't want people to be overwhelmed. I wanted to give enough information to get people moving, right? To give them the answer of okay, how do I look at a deal? How do I approach it financially, right? The money side of the deal, because I'm a lender, so that's how I look at real estate, and that's what the book was about. And the intro was actually written by a friend of mine who founded Appraisal Nation, and I told him when he uh, gave me the introduction to add into the book, and I was done reading it, I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "The book is great." But if people truly understand what you just wrote in the first 3 pages, they don't, that alone is worth it. You don't even if you don't, if you stop at just the introduction, that was valuable enough because same thing. He talks about being surrounded by the right people, right? The C-suite. And so, same thing over and over. I've heard this from others and I can definitely repeat it myself now that we all need to surround ourselves with people who are doing the thing we're interested in doing and doing it at a higher level so that we can learn.
Yeah.
So,
Wonderful. What a wonderful takeaway. Thank you, Mark, for being here. Thank you for making time to be here on Travis Perry Show. And man, I hope that everybody else has taken this to heart and understood a little bit more about what Mark does, but also how this can benefit you if you're looking to invest, you're looking to get into real estate for your very first deal, or doing this full time. You might want to check out alwayscapitalllc.com or Lending Wise, WHYS. They're on Amazon. And yeah, thank you again, Mark. Any last words? Any other things you'd like to leave the audience with on this adventure of lending and quite honestly, just investing in real estate for the long haul?
well, first, I want to say thank you for being on. Actually, it was truly fun, a pleasure. I'm always happy to have a chance to chat with you. Um, my last thoughts for everybody is you can outgrind. You can outgrind everybody else. Nobody else. We all have a little bit of time in a day to devote to whatever activity we want, whatever it is, whether it's real estate or engineering or running a business. It doesn't matter. We all have the time and we can outgrind. And there are skills and abilities that we bring from other areas of our life that we can implement. And so I just want everyone to know, just take action. In the end run, figure out, it is difficult. And when I say figure out what you want to do, that is one of the hardest things sometimes to figure out what it is. But there are things that give you joy to do. And when you figure out what gives you joy to do and where that crosses over with income producing activity, that is when magic starts happening because you don't actually dread doing what you have to do, but you enjoy it. You thrive on it. Um,
Yeah.
I I guess as a last joke, I always get amused because when I go to seminars and events for real estate, I almost feel bad because it's like I'm having fun and it feels like I'm partying and I almost feel bad to say, well, I went to work, I traveled for this trip and I took a week and I was working. It was a blast. It's
Yeah.
fun. And so that's what I would suggest to everybody. Find an activity that can be both income producing and fun, and you'll never work a day in your life anymore.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for being on the show. And everyone, until next time, remember, live life on purpose together. Thanks.